Rabbi Say, shir tonight, we're learning, today is a Sarah B'Tevis, tonight I have a Sarah B'Tevis, which is also the yahrzeit of my Rebbe, Ramoy Shapir Zatzal. So, shir should be Yilui for his neshama.
Where's the ticker?
Oh. Look at the Gemara, we're holding in Zevachim Daf Kuf Zayin, 3 lines on the top. The Gemara says, Ashkachen muktori pnim shehel l'mbuchutz. So the Gemara till now learned drushes that tell me that anything which was done inside, if you do it outside, meaning any karbonis that belong inside, if you did it outside, you're going to be chayav karas. Says the Gemara, muktori chut shehel l'mbuchutz b'nayim. How do you know something that was done outside? Meaning that the korban was done outside. Meaning Rabbanan in our Mishnah that said that something was done outside, you chayav it outside. Something was shechted outside, you chayav, you put it in his back. How do we know that? Suppose it says ve'aleim, and what it says right after shchuti chutz. To tell me, and there it says that halo, the parsha, the psukim of halo, it says over there ve'aleim toimar. So leim toimar means referring to the one on them, meaning that shchuti chutz also refers to the all, even the thing that they're shechted outside, you have the issue of halo outside. Says the Gemara, ala smuchim toimar. Here it's a mistake that it's not the same word. Aleim with the way the Torah reads is aleim with the aleph, refers to amisur. Ve'aleim meaning to them say. It doesn't say ve'aleim with the ayin on them. You want to say on them, we're talking about them. We're not talking about them, we're talking to them. Ve'aleim is to tell you to mix the parshas together, meaning Rashi says not only do the word aleim, but the letter vav, ve'aleim. Meaning we're connecting the parsha of Allah to shchuti chutz. To tell me, also in the case of shchuti chutz, you shecht it outside, you also chayav on ha'ala outside. We mentioned in the end of yesterday's daf. So you learn from ha'ala, you learn from shchita. Shchita is talking outside, so ha'ala is talking about something that was shechted outside. This also we mentioned in yesterday's daf. There's 36 cases of krisus. There's 37. One of the list of the krisus is male b'chutz. But male is 2 cases of male. There's male is something that was shechted inside, and there's male is something that was shechted outside. So more kasha. You're right, it should be maybe twice. Now, Rashi points out over here, Rashi too mentions as well, that we do have things that have in them many details. For example, Shabbos. One of the krisus is Shabbos. But Shabbos, there's several malachas in Shabbos, 39 malachas. One of the krisus is Avodah Zarah. But Avodah Zarah, you have many avodas. Says Rashi, that's true because that's written in their Masechta. Masechet Shabbos tells you all the 39 malachas. Krisus in the Avodah Zarah, it says you Masechet Zarah, all the things. But Ma'al I don't have the Mishnahs for that. So it should have told me 2 miles. That's the question of the Gemara. Says the Gemara, okay. So now we learn basically the last daf. We learned the psukim for shrechet outside. We learned the pasuk for Allah outside. And just now we learned, even if you start by shrechet outside, you also have an Allah outside. So the Gemara, someone who throws even some of the blood outside is chayov. Minolon. How do you know throwing blood? Zriko. So when I've cleared the Tanya, learn for the following. It says, Nam Yichoshev le'rabois hazoyr. The pasuk says, "A pesach lo'imod lo'ivir la'akriv korban Hashem. Dam Yichoshev le'ishu dam shofach." What is the word Dam Yichoshev talking about? First 2, I'm telling you that Dam Yichoshev for the Zrika Saddam. Right? So you look for Dam Shofach, we talk about Zrika, to tell you that the Zrika you have. Dam Shofach, also the Himshach Dam Shofach. That's the Rabbi Shmuel. So you learn it from what? From Shchita. It says he didn't bring it in the Mishkan. So you learn from Shchita. That's the psuki about Shchita. So remember this. That's the Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel learns Zrika from Shchita. Rabbi Shmuel learns Zrika from Shchita. Rabbi Kiva Oimer, Oy Zevach, L'Rabbi Zazoyik. Oy Zevach is a pasuk by Allah. And you learn from there, it says, Oy Zevach, to tell you what's Oy Zevach, because they tell you also Zazoyik. Because the pasuk says, Sheyale Oy Lo Oy Zevach. So why it says Oy? They tell you, talk about Zrika. So, according to Rabbi Kiva, you learn from Hala. So how do I know Zrika? According to Rabbi Shmuel, you learn from Shchita. According to Rabbi Kiva, you learn from Hala. Same with Rabbi Shmuel, Oy Zevach, my relay. What is going to do with Oy Zevach? The Chalik, to tell you don't have to do Shlomim and Oilo. It's either or. If Rabbi Kiva, the Chalik, you know, that is Rabbi Kiva, know you can do either or. Nafkele milo yevi'enu. It won't bring it. Mean not both. One of the Kabbalas. If Rabbi Shmuel, what do you do with Levienu? It has to be a dover shalom, not chaser. So Rashi points out, we're going to see later that what is chaser? It could be chaser beivarim, chaser behemo, or chaser naktara. You have to be a full thing. How do you know it? Levienu, the whole thing. If Rabbi Kiva nafkelei, milah sois oisoi. So it says oisoi, it's the whole thing. Rabbi Shmuel, that chad, they take away the word chad, lemuktori pnim shechosu ve'elo b'chutz, v'chad lemuktori chutz shechosu ve'elo b'chutz. Meaning, talk about why you need two psukim. One pasuk is for the ones that were done inside and they're missing, and you bring it outside. And one for the ones that were done outside and they're missing, are doing outside. I would think that maybe inside is different. Why should inside be different? Because inside, we know the din is, Rashi points out over here, we'll see the more also in the Gemara, is that the inside, we have a din of, if you have a piece of the carbon that fell out of the mizbeach, what do we do with it? You go and you have to, what? You have to put it back, even though it's only a piece. So you say maybe the same thing will be, every time that I have a case of a halal b'chutz, even a piece. So something that was done inside, you know that even a piece has to go on the mizbeach. So maybe outside I have to do even a piece. So that's a chiddush. That's a chiddush over here. So when it says even a piece, and you tell me two different. One is chutz, it has to be a full thing, and even the inside one has to be a full thing. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Kiva, what Rabbi Kiva is going to do with that? He disagrees. He says something was done in the Beis Hamikdash, and it's missing. You threw it outside your chayav, because the same way inside, even a small piece your chayav, you need to put it back. It's also outside. What does it do with the pasuk Rabbi Shmuel? The Rabbi shchitas ha'oif. I tell you, even a bird, because any dam, even a dam of a bird. Rabbi Shmuel nafkalei mi oye sheyishchat. So it says in the pasuk oye sheyishchat. Sure, keves oyedo machne. So here you don't shchita legabi oif. Rabbi Kiva Omer going by the shechit du chayav lo lamoylek. No, you're right. Tells you something about oif, but not that you have shchita by oif, but you come to exclude miliko. Shchita, not miliko. Rabbi Shmuel nafkalei is ze'adavar. This, not don't exclude something. The Tanya sheyishchat inli and the shachat shechet beim and shachet oif. Hey shachet beim, shachet oif now. I know the im shachet beim oif. So that's the pasuk of Rabbi Shmuel. Yechol af amoylek, if you meliku be chayav outside, vidinu. Shchita dein derech asher b'fnim. Shchita is another way to show you that oif inside, you chayav outside, chayav. Meliku shederech asher b'fnim. That's how you do it inside. Ein yodin shu chayav. Tomud loimar zeh adovar. That's what zeh adovar is going to tell you. Rabbi Kiva Amachol Yibayim L'Gzeh Shava. And even Gzeh Shava. The dovers in Noeg L'Doiris is a Shava that we learn in Bo Basra. Okay, so the Gemara basically went and took care of all the psukim. What does he do with Zeh Dover? What do he do with Oysa? What do he do with this? Each one has his own shittas. But the mice, at the end of the day, Rabbi Shmuel learns from Shchita. Rabbi Akiva learns from Hala. Zrika.
The words are saying that Azurik mixas, but then
mixas is called Shekekuli. Talk about blood.
Yeah, I'm saying, but then none of these drashas talked about mixas. They don't
No.
talk about Azurik in general.
Right. We discussed the amount of Zrika.
Assume that just when it says Zurik, it just means even
Yeah.
Zurik mixas.
Yeah, we'll have to get to that later. That's later Daf Kuf Yud. We'll see the drush exactly.
It's really what the Gemara is asking is how do you know that Zurik is?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Not
Right. Someone who does Kmitza on Mincha. Now, Mekabel Domim, receiving blood, B'chut Patur Minolan. How do you know there's no your Patur over there? We learned that you chayav on Shchita. We learned that you chayav on Alo. We learned that you chayav on Zrika. How do you know you're not chayav on Kabbalah and on Kmitza? Minolan says, "Well, make it taste the chayav." What will be the source? Usually, they tell me you chayav and you need a pasuk. Says the Gemara, "Taste Mishchita." Maybe you learn from Mishchita. Mal Shchita, she can sell it. Shchita you can't learn from. Why? Because Shchita, when I take a current Pesach and sheft it for a person who can't eat, it ruins the Pesach. I mean, unless he has other people. But if he ruins the people who can't eat the Shchita, that's only thing Mishchita. So it's a unique thing with Shchita. Taste Mishchita, maybe you learn from Zrika. Mal Zrika, she can zay chayav misa. Zrika, if someone who's not a kohen throws the blood, it's chayav misa. But otherwise, it's not chayav misa. It's also not chayav misa. Okay, so let's learn what happens. You can't learn from one, you can't learn from another. You come and learn from the Tzad HaShavet. Let's learn both of them. From Shchita and Zrika. So we can, I'll tell you something. Why do I have a possible Zrika? Why doesn't Zrika learn from Shchita and Hala? I think what explains. Let's say Shchita alone. You can't learn Zrika from Shchita because Shchita is more chomer than Pesach. I have also by Mincha. I don't have Shchita by Mincha. Learn from both. Because of meaning the Torah is telling you, why is the Torah to tell you a possible Zrika? To tell you that I don't learn in this case Tzad HaShavet. Why not? Good question. We don't learn for Tzad HaShavet. It's exactly because I do learn Tzad HaShavet, I don't have to say it as Zrika. So maybe I can't learn to any other Tzad HaShavet. Says the Gemara Vosh. Now, so back to the sugya. Rabbi Shmuel said you learn Shchita from, you learn Zrika from. Rabbi Shmuel said you learn Zrika from Shchita. Rabbi Akiva said you learn Zrika from Hala. Says the Gemara Vosh. Shachat Zorak LeDivrei Rabbi Shmuel. According to Rabbi Shmuel, that you learn Zrika from Shchita. So if you did both outside, Chayav Achas. According to Rabbi Shmuel, it's Chayav only one. Because you learn from each other. Divrei Rabbi Akiva Chayav Shtayim, because they're two different psukim. Abayom I feel Divrei Rabbi Akiva no Chayav Lachas. You know, according to Rabbi Akiva Chayav only one. Tomeko Sham Taaseh Kosav Asom Lekulam Voidachas. This is in the pasuk. Sham Tishcha Sham Taaseh. Sham Tal Sham Taaseh. So Allah is Lechud and Taaseh all together. So the Torah equated all the Asiyas together. So you mainly, even according to Rabbi Akiva, even though Zrika is learned a different pasuk, but the Torah tells you to put Zrika together with Shchita. Zorak ve'elo, someone did Zrika, and the Dalo outside. L'divrei Rabbi Shmuel Chayav Shtayim. Good, Rabbi Shmuel is Chayav too, because it's the Mzukim. But L'divrei Rabbi Akiva, where does Rabbi Akiva learn Zrika from? From Allah. So Chayav enu Chayav Lachas, because they're all in the same pasuk. Abayom afil L'divrei Rabbi Akiva Chayav Shtayim. Lahachal pagim lekol be'sei pasuk. Sham Tal Sham Taaseh, that Aliyah and Asiyah are not together. I mean, Ma'aleh is on its own. So even according to Rabbi Akiva, they learn Zrika from Allah, the Torah tells you to differentiate Allah from other things. But Shachad, the Zorak, Ve'elo, he did all three. But he agrees with Chayav Shtayim. Because according to Rabbi Vo, so according to Rabbi Shmuel, Shchita and Zrika learn together. That's one lap. Hala is the other lap. According to Rabbi Akiva, Hala and Zrika is one lap. Shchita is the other lap. According to Abaye, So we have one pasuk for Allah that stands on its own, and one pasuk for everything else. So according to everybody, it's chayiv on two. So we're going to read it without the parentheses, but with the brackets. It says in the pasuk, maybe you chayiv only if you went out of three machnes to do the halal b'chutz. It's a machne, one machne. Maybe even in the same machne, if you did the wrong place, instead of doing it in the north, you did it in the south. It says, you want to go and tell you the same way outside with the three machnes is somewhere you can do shchita, any shchita. Even though you can't do Kodesh Kodashim, so you're saying it has to be a place similar to the three machnes where you do not have any shchita or Allah over there at all. Mashiach in the door in Beis Hamikdash, the south of Beis Hamikdash, you do Kodesh Kodesh. So even when you Kodesh Kodesh, you're not supposed to do it in the south. But if someone in the south is not chayav al tzamala b'chutz. Continues the Gemara now. Some interesting scenarios. Someone did shchita on the roof of the eichel. Now, why should this not be a problem? Or what's the discussion? So he says, why? You can't shecht on the roof. All shchitas are done on the floor. Torah tells you not to do outside. Why did it say the word El Pesach or El Moed? Right? It says, it says, the Pasuk says, the Pesach or El Moed lo yivir lakiv korban Hashem. So it says, Mechutz HaMachne, they didn't bring in the Pesach or El Moed. If it's Mechutz HaMachne, it's not Pesach or El Moed. What do you want to tell me with the words Pesach or El Moed? Pesach or El Moed lamali, lav lemuti gago. Meaning, the Torah is telling you, as long as it went through the door, you're good to go. So it went through the door. When it went to the roof, it went through the door. It's not outside of Beis Hamikdash. Says the Gemara, so says the Gemara, it's going to exclude the roof. Ula Rava that argues, what does he hold? So why it says Mechutz HaMachne B'chlal? Say, door has to be through the door. That's what it says the roof. So according to Rava, the fact that saying that there has to be Mechutz HaMachne, even though I already said door, to tell you even if you go through the door, you still could be out of the machne. And that's on the roof. Right? Omar Mari. So says the Gemara. Omar Mari, you know what Mechutz HaMachne is going to teach you? Not that. If the animal is inside the Beis Hamikdash, but its neck is outside, and the shecht is outside, so you'll say that most of the animals inside, maybe it's go inside. So well, that's not a chiddush. What the Torah cares about? Don't do shchita outside. So here, shchita is outside because the neck is outside.
Next
In the opposite case, the animal is outside, the neck is inside. He shechts inside. Oh, no, the neck is inside. No, but most of the animals outside, you have on that. What are you saying?
Isn't it part of one animal? What's the difference?
Right, but the shechita is not outside. So here the chiddush is even the shechita is not inside, but most of the animals outside. Okay, so more. Itmar hamale bezman hazeh. Person goes today and does shechita's korban. Is he chayav out or Allah today? Is he chayav out Allah's chutz? It's outside Beis Hamikdash, right? Why? What's the shorosh of chlokes? The kedusha Beis Hamikdash remains. It remains forever. So if you go out of Beis Hamikdash, you're doing outside. The kedusha doesn't know what I mean. And here's a bigger chiddush. The kedusha remains if you're outside, even though there's no walls, you still have the chutz. Still, you don't need to have the walls. Says the one name, the fluk to the blazer b'shur, because that's machlokes the blazer b'shur. Now no more blazer kishu boinim beichol. When they build the base of Mikdash, how do they build the base of Mikdash? When they build the eichol, you always see kloim beichol, kloim be'azoros. When they build the base of Mikdash, so they made some curtains in the eichol, and they made some curtains in the azoros while they're building. The eichol did curtains, so they could do avoid in the curtains, and they build around the curtains. But the azara was the opposite. They did the curtains, and they build within the curtains. Why is that so? So by eichol, I want the builders to see what's going on in eichol. Eichol is a makam tzanua. The azara is open, so you can build the walls within the kloim. By azara, you can do the inside. So you see over here, you need to have curtains. You need to have some separation. You could do a korban with no base of English. You can eat kochikalim without walls. Kochikalim without a wall. Because the kedusha remains forever. So you see over here that what? We want to say it's machlokes. There are blows of sofa, blows of the else. You need to have walls. You have to have kloim. You have to have curtains when you build base of Mikdash, because you want to have time to do avodah. Sofa like kitcho. That's why they have to have walls. The word understands why did they have to have walls? Because they want to do avodah already. But Bismillah is not built yet, so make walls. Bismillah is built. But Cubs Rabbi Shua said, don't need to have walls. So the chur, what's the machlokes? The kedusha remain without walls. Says the Gemara, who said? No, the kedusha remains forever. Each one just said something. One said you have to have, when they build, they used to have curtains. The other one says you don't have to have walls. Why didn't they put curtains over there? It's the word it's used to be on. It's this. Not to have it in public. But we did the base of English, you don't have to have walls. Okay, let's go a few more lines. We'll get back to one nikud over here with this one. The Gemara says, Itmar. Hamale ve'ein boi kazais. Someone does Allah of a korban, but there's no kazais. Ve'etzeh mashlim al kazais. The bone makes it a kazais. Hamir kunam machayev. V'shlok shom ha'pater. We learned it earlier in Masechta that when you take animals, you put with the animals the bones as well. You don't take out the bones. You bring that to the bag as well. So what? What are you telling over here? It's part of the korban. I don't consider it to be part of the oilim. As we learned earlier, if they fall off, you don't bring it back in. So that's Ravo. Hamal of Kukhesav on top. Hamal roish pinyoin, the head of a bird. She'ain but kazais, don't kazais. Umelach mashim kazais. But what happens? You have salt that adds to the bird. Now you have a kazais with the salt. What's the question? If I have a korban that has a bone to it, does the bone mash with kazais? We have a bird that has salt to it, and the salt mash with kazais. Many doesn't like the comparison. Why not? Why? Very good. So let's see what the Gemara is doing. The Gemara that Hartman is, it's part of the korban. They go together in this bed. Says the Gemara, the question will be according to Rabbi Yochanan and according to Shlokish. The bone is part of the Behemoth, Bendy says. It's not part of it, even though it goes to Mizbech. Also, according to Shlokish, the opposite question. By the bone, if the bone fell off of the animal, you don't bring it back to Mizbech. Only as long as it's connected. So we're going the horn of Yitzchak Avinu. Was it on the Mizbech or not? But here, the salt, if the salt fell on the Mizbech, you have to bring it back. So maybe that's part of the korban more. Or the Mulashta, something more takeaway. I'm not sure if the Ashla Kazais goes with the salt or not. I think more says with the thing. Just want to end with one Ikuda. To mention, tonight is the Herzog of my Rebbe, Moshe Shapir itself. Used to mention this a lot. To mention it as well, and this is Nagah very much the Sugi over here. What is the idea? It says the kedusha v'shei kitchel shayitz kitchel d'osel. So the Rambam tells us, famous Rambam. Rambam says, "Prima ani oimer." Why do I say that the kedusha of Yerushalayim remains forever? The kedusha of Yisrael remains forever, while the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael not. Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael says Rambam is going to refer to kedusha Rishayna of Eretz Yisrael, kedusha Oil Mitzrayim, as batal. Says why? So says the Rambam, the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, because they conquered Eretz Yisrael. Once they were conquered back, the kedusha goes away. For the kedusha of Beis Hamikdash, it mipnei Shechina, because of the Shechina, and the Shechina is always in Beis Hamikdash, even when you have a Churban. This is what Moshe used to quote. The Rambam has another halacha. There is a machlekes if the Aron was it buried underneath the Beis Hamikdash, or was it went above? Machlekes, more biuma, Shusham Mishkalim. Says the Rambam brings halacha. Rambam brings halachas. Says the Aron is ganuz under the Beis Hamikdash. And we know the Rambam doesn't tell us stories. The Rambam tells us halachas. Says the Rav Yaakov Emdin Yavitz. Why did they tell me that the Aron is under the Beis Hamikdash? Who cares where it is? Answer Yaakov Emdin, because the Kedusha Beis Hamikdash is because of the Aron. Because the Aron, the Shechina Shoyrot says bin Shtei Ba'ad Aron, between the Ksher Kruvim. So the only reason I have a Kedusha Beis Hamikdash is because I have the Aron. The Rambam holds that the Beis Hamikdash Shechina doesn't leave, so it has to be that the Aron is there. How do you know that? Says the Rambam, because we paskin the Aron was buried. If the Aron would go to Bavel, there would be no Kedusha Beis Hamikdash. So the Rambam tells us the Aron was buried to tell you the Kedusha stays. Shechina doesn't leave. Had to that Kibbutz Tzadikim, also it says the Shechin does not leave. So there's a makkah of the Tzadikim when they're buried in the Beis Hamikdash. There's a connection between the two. Shazoycha to have everything rebuilt soon. Yechezkel beinenu. Call to